You can draw this in Procreate. During this tutorial, we won't just draw one drawing, but we'll actually make two, and we'll create this fun switching trick to surprise our viewers and turn this cute little pumpkin into a creepy pumpkin. And it's super easy, you don't need any experience. I will guide you through all the steps. Just check these results from previous You Can Draw This video tutorials. Or check these amazing results from my patrons at Patreon. That's the place where you can watch a whole lot more Procreate tutorials and get a whole bunch of brushes. But for this tutorial, all you need is a canvas that is 2300 pixels by 3000 pixels, a color palette that I have linked in the description, and free brushes, only brushes that are already in the Procreate app, and some brushes from my treasure chest, which you can get through freefromflow.com. So go and grab your Apple Pencil or your finger and let's get started. First, we are going to grab the monoline brush. Let's go to the brushes, then to calligraphy and use the monoline brush. And for the color, we are going to use this third color in the first row. And the opacity of the brush is at 100%, and let's set the size to something like 35%. And we are going to draw an oval. Just like this. Hold your pen in place to make it snap to a quick shape. And then let's fill our shape by dragging in the color. And now we are going to adjust the shape of our orange oval by going to the magic wand here at the top. And then we'll pick a Liquify. Now you'll need to make sure that you have Liquify set to push. I have pressure set to max and distortion and momentum set to none. And the size, well, you can play around with that. For now, I have it at 67%. And we are going to adjust the shape. Let's push. You can put your pen above that oval. And then push the shape to make it look more like a pumpkin shape. And of course, you could have drawn this shape. But working like this, it gives you more control. It's easier to look at what shape you want. So if you are having trouble making fluid lines, then this is an easy trick. So go for something like a squished oval type of shape. It's almost like a peanut, but if it looks like this, it's good. Then go to the arrow tool here at the top. Make sure that you have snapping turned on over here. And then let's center our pumpkin. You'll know that it's centered once you see that orange vertical line. And if you see that horizontal line, it's also centered horizontally. Or is it vertically? Well, at least it's definitely in the center of our canvas now. And then let's just click the arrow again. And now we are going to add a new layer. Let's go to the layer menu, click the plus for a new layer, and let's change the color. Let's for now pick this second color in the first row. And now we are going to draw an oval in the center. And you can hold your pen in place again to make it snap to a quick shape. And then just drag in the color to fill it. But then I don't really like the shape. I want to change it. So let's go back to the magic wand and use Liquify again. And then again, you can just push and pull. Make it a bit bigger. Just drag it around until it is to your liking. And then we'll go back to the layer menu and we'll make a new layer in between these two layers. So we'll have to click layer 1 first, then click the plus for a new layer, and let's switch our color. Let's go for this one right now, the fourth color. And then we are going to make a shape on the left of our oval. Like this. Make sure to close it behind that oval, because only that way you can drag in the color to fill it. And to make making these shapes a little bit easier, we can actually set the brush to 100% in size. Let's make this one a little bit bigger, for example. And then we'll make another one here on the right side. And again, you need to close the shape behind it and then drag in the color. Now it doesn't matter if your lines look a little bit wonky because pumpkins, they tend to look a little bit wonky. So that's absolutely fine. Now we are going to start adding texture to our pumpkin. Let's go to layer 1 first. Let's click it and turn on alpha lock. That way, when you have alpha lock turned on, and you already know this if you have been watching my videos, but if you have alpha lock turned on, we will only be able to paint on a shape that is already on the layer, so our texture that we will add won't show up outside of that shape. Now let's go to the treasure chest brushes and let's use the spackle brush. And then let's pick this color over here, the 5th color in the first row. And let's just go over that area, adding a little bit of a like reddish glow to our pumpkin. Then we'll switch to this color over here, the 6th color in the first row, and we'll add a little bit of a like shadow to the underside. That's where the light is not hitting, so that's a little bit darker. Then we'll switch to the 2nd color over here in the first row, and we'll add a little bit of light to the top side and to the outer edge over here, and a little bit of light over here. We can go over this area, just lighting it up a little bit. Then let's go to layer 3. Again, turn on alpha lock. And let's first fill it with this 3rd color over here. Let's just drop it on top of the shape. And now we can do the same thing that we just did. So first let's go to that reddish color, the 5th color in the first row. Add a little bit of reddish texture to that center area. Then we'll switch to the darker color, the 6th color. And we'll add a little bit of shadow to the bottom area where the light is not hitting. Then let's move on to the light color again. That's the 2nd color. And let's add a little bit of light to the top. And to this outer edge. It'll separate these pumpkin parts from each other. And on to the final part, layer 2. Let's click it and turn on alpha lock again. And let's fill it with the 3rd color in the first row. Let's drag it on top. And now let's switch to this 4th color in the first row to add some base texture. I'm not using the reddish color because I feel like that would be too dark for this area. So just some base texture. Then we'll switch to the darker color, the 6th color in the first row for that little bit of shadow here at the bottom. Not too much. And then finally the light color, the 2nd color in the first row to add some light to the top and to the side here. So that it looks like this. Now let's add a stem to our pumpkin. Let's click the plus for a new layer and let's drag this layer underneath our pumpkin. So we will be actually painting or drawing behind our pumpkin. Now let's go and use the fine liner brush, which is also part of the treasure chest. And let's grab this color over here. It's the 7th color in the first row. And the opacity of the brush is at 100% and the size is at 18%. And now let's start about here behind our pumpkin and let's make a little stem shape, a curved line down, turn it into a shape that looks a bit like this. It doesn't have to be an exact copy. And then you can drag in the color to fill the shape. Make sure that you don't have any light edges. And then once you got that, add some texture. Let's click the layer, turn on alpha lock so we can easily add texture. Then let's go to the Is It Grunge brush and switch to the darker green color over here. And just go over the stem, that lower part, to add a little bit of texture. Then we'll switch back to the fine liner brush and we'll just add some of these lines. We'll follow the direction of that stem. Make a shorter line here. And another one over here to give it some extra interest, some extra texture. Make it look more like a stem. Now, once you are happy with your pumpkin, you can merge the layers of the pumpkin itself. Let's pinch them together. And now let's duplicate it. You can do that by sliding to the left and clicking duplicate. Then click that first layer one and switch the color to this color over here, the first color in the first row. Then go back to the layer menu, click the layer and select fill layer. Now you can't see it, but behind this pumpkin, there is a very dark layer, and that'll be the inside of our pumpkin. But we won't just be making a sweet and happy little pumpkin, but we will also make a creepy pumpkin. So we need a duplicate of our pumpkin. So first let's select these layers by sliding to the right, then click group, close the group, slide to the left and click duplicate. And now let's turn off that top group for now and go to the bottom group and continue working here. Now I want to start carving a face for our pumpkin, and we are going to do that by putting a layer mask on this layer with the pumpkin. Click the layer, then click mask, and now you can see there is an extra layer attached to our pumpkin layer. Right now it's white, so we can see everything on the pumpkin layer, but as soon as we start working with black on this layer mask, we will be blocking parts of the layer. And that way we are going to see that layer that is underneath, that darker layer. For our brush, we are going to use the brush. Under calligraphy, we are going to use the script brush. And we will have to set it to pure black. You can do that by going to the color wheel and double tapping here at the bottom. It'll select pure black. And as you can see, it is erasing it's kind of erasing parts of the pumpkin layer. Right now I have the opacity at 100% and the size is at 10%. Now first let's carve a mouth. Let's rotate our pumpkin so it's easier for your wrist to make a curved line. We'll start about here, make a curved line to the other side to about halfway of this part of the pumpkin. Then the underside of the mouth. Then rotate it to check it. I feel like we can go a little bit bigger actually. I'll go up a little bit here. And over here, just attach these. And then you can actually drag in the color to fill these shapes. It's the same as on a regular layer. Now I actually want to uncarve a part of the mouth, and we'll do that by going to the selection tool and using the freehand selection option. And we are going to start about here, tap, and tap here, tap over here, and make this rectangular shape. Close the selection, then go over here, make another rectangular selection, and one over here, and then close it. Now we are going to switch to pure white by double tapping over here, and then you can select color fill. Now when you turn off the selection, go back, you can see that we have uncarved a part of the mouth. It would be great if it will work like that in real life. Now let's go back and make another selection. The selection tool is actually still active. If it's not, then you'll have to click it again. Turn off color fill for now, and let's make a triangular shaped nose. Tap over here, 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 and here to close the selection. And then select color fill. You can see that we have black selected right now. So when we use color fill, it'll mask that part of the pumpkin's face. Now all I want is two eyes, two heart-shaped eyes. And let's just draw them by hand. Make a heart shape over here. And one on this side. And then drag in the color to fill these shapes. Now, if by any chance you want to uncarve parts, then all you need to do is double tap here to get pure white. And then you can just go over areas that you want to uncarve, that you want to tidy up. If you want to get crispier, pointier parts, for example, here around the mouth. You can just go over. And if you want to carve again, then just switch to black. I think this pumpkin is looking really happy. He might be just as happy as I am when I see you hit that thumbs up. Now let's go and create a new layer. We'll go to the layer menu, click the plus, and we'll drag this layer in between that dark layer and our pumpkin layer. And then we'll switch to this color over here, the second color in the first row. Now we are going to add some volume to our pumpkin. And we are going to follow this part of that heart shape. And you can drag in the color to fill it, or you can just fill it in by hand. We'll focus on the left sides of the carvings and the lower side. So start here, fill that in, and you can see that's adding some volume to the pumpkin. We'll follow this underside all the way to the other side here. And to add some volume to the teeth, we are going to use the selection tool. So let's go back to the selection tool, the S shape ribbon, then use freehand. And let's zoom in a little bit. Start here at the tip of the teeth, then make a diagonal line to this part, then go up, and then go around and close that selection. Then we'll do the same over here. We'll start here, make a diagonal line, then go to this area and then downward, and then close the selection. Then finally for this teeth or tooth, this tooth, click here, make a diagonal line, go up and then around to close the selection. And then click the S shape ribbon again. And now we have our happy little pumpkin. Let's add a little shadow underneath him to give him some ground. Let's click the plus for a new layer, drag it underneath the others. Usually it doesn't really work for me when I'm working in a group, so I'll just put that stem on top of that new layer to save myself some trouble. Let's go and grab this gray color over here. That's the last color in the first row. And then let's use the monoline brush. And we are going to draw an oval underneath our pumpkin. Hold your pen in place to make it snap to a quick shape. Then you can click edit shape, move it around, place it somewhere around here and drag in the color to fill the shape. All right, now let's blur this a little bit. Let's go to the magic wand, then click Gaussian blur, set it to layer and drag your pen or your finger to the right on the screen to blur the layer. Let's go for something like 21%. And then just click the magic wand again. Now let's move on to our creepy pumpkin. Let's close this group and let's turn on the next one and open it up. First, let's go to this layer and fill it with a different color. We are going to use this color over here, the first color in the second row. So click the layer and select fill layer. Now I want to merge the stem layer with the pumpkin layer. So let's move it up and then pinch them together. Now we'll make a new layer on top by clicking the plus. And we are going to clip this layer to our pumpkin layer. What you need to do is click the layer, turn on clipping mask, and now it's clipped, and that means that whatever we paint on this clip layer, it'll only show up on the pumpkin. We are going to change the layer blending mode of this layer, of this clip layer, click the N, and then scroll up to multiply. And now we are going to fill this layer with pure black. So double tap her at the bottom, drag it onto the layer, and now you can see our pumpkin is totally black. But we don't want it to be black, we want it to be dark. So let's click the M and lower the opacity of this layer. And let's turn it down to 65%. And now let's go and carve this pumpkin. Let's go to layer 4 and let's give it a layer mask. So click the layer, then click mask. And now we are going to use a brush from the treasure chest. We are going to use the fine liner brush to carve this pumpkin. We'll need pure black, so double tap here at the bottom. And to make it a little bit easier, I want to use the symmetry tool. It'll save us time. Let's go to the wrench here at the top, then to canvas, then turn on drawing guide and click edit drawing guide. And then here at the bottom, you can select symmetry. And then you can move it around a little bit to find the center of your pumpkin. Let's go for this area and then click done. Now the opacity of the brush is still at 100% and the size is at 15%. Now let's start about here. Make a curved, slightly S-shaped line to this area. And then another curved line going down a little bit and then back up. Something like this. Now you can drag in the color to fill that shape. Just make sure that you don't get any gaps. Let's add a little extra over here. Make it nice and creepy looking. A little extra pointy here. And it's nice that the lines are a little bit, well, slightly jagged. It adds to that creepy touch. Now I actually want to turn off symmetry. We can go to the wrench, then turn off the drawing guide. And then when you go to the layer, you'll actually see that it's still assisted. That means that symmetry is still turned on. Now to turn it off, we'll first need to turn it on the layer. I'm not sure why, but that's how it works. And then turn off drawing assist. So now it's turned off for both the layer and the layer mask. I'm not sure why it works like this, but it's the only way I could find out to turn it off on the layer mask. Now let's continue on the layer mask and let's carve the nose. First make an oval like this on one side and then on the other side. I don't want the pumpkin to look too symmetrical. That's why I wanted to turn off symmetry. Now we are going to create a really creepy looking mouth. And we'll make a curved line up like this. We'll go down, back up again. We'll make these pointy shapes. Bit like some kind of flame. Or a Batman logo. Could be. Drag in the color. Make sure you don't have any dark edges. Then on to the next one. Try to vary the shapes a little bit. Go up a little bit more here. And give some of these gaps, some of these carvings, a bit more of these pointers and some a bit less. And when you drag in the color, make sure to adjust the color drop threshold. Hold your pen in place and drag to the right to decrease that amount of gap that you sometimes get. when using textured brushes. Now onto this side. Drag in the color to fill it. You can also color some areas in by hand a bit to make sure that you don't get any unwanted gaps. But I like the jagged look the fine liner brush gives. Finally, one over here. I feel like it's looking nice and creepy. Now we'll create a new layer in between these layers again. So first click layer 1, then click the plus. And for the color, we are going to use this color over here. And we are going back to the calligraphy brushes and use the script brush again. And now we'll follow that lower area again and add some volume to the pumpkin. Over here as well. We'll add a little line here on this, like nostril, and on this side for this one. Then on the parts of the mouth on the left side, we'll add lines to the left sides of these carvings. And here on the left side, let's zoom in a little bit to also add a little volume here. And then as we move to the right side, we are going to start adding this volume to the right sides of the carvings. Until you got something that looks like this. Now we are going to change the background for this pumpkin. Let's click the plus for a new layer. Drag it underneath the layer that we just created, and then I'll put this one on top of it. So I'm sure that it'll stay in the group. Then on this layer, let's just drop in pure black. So double tap here at the bottom, drag in the color, and this is already looking a lot better. Now let's add some extra glow inside of the eyes. First, let's go to the layer that we just created, layer 13, click it and turn on alpha lock. So we won't be able to paint outside of this shape. Then we'll go to the lighting brushes, luminance, and use the nebula brush. Now click the nebula brush and then go to color dynamics and make sure that you have all the color dynamics turned off. So all the way to the left. Otherwise, it'll give wonky colors and we don't want that. And for the color, we are going to use this color over here. That's the first color in the second row. I have the opacity of this brush set to 30% and the size is at 6%. And now let's add some light to the edges here. And that'll also make it merge a bit with the inside. Also do it here in the nose and in the mouth. Just a little extra glow. Not too much. Just go over the edges. And then once you got this, let's merge the layers, layer 13 and this one. We can click layer 13 and then just tell it to merge down. And now let's add even more glow, so that the glow will also end up on that yellow layer. So we'll add some to the eyes, some to the mouth. I'm focusing on that center area, adding more light there and less on the outsides. Now let's add some glow on the ground. Let's first click layer 14, then click the plus for a new layer. Then let's go to the calligraphy brushes again, use the monoline brush. Then pick this color over here, the second color in the second row. We'll make an oval. Let's make it pretty big. Something like this. Then drag in the color to fill it. And then let's blur it. Let's go to the magic wand, pick Gaussian blur, set it to layer, drag your pen to the right. And let's go for something like this, 39.6%. And now we are going to add a layer mask to this layer. We'll click layer 14 again, click mask. And now with pure black, we are going to add a mask. And in the same spot as we created the shadow for our first pumpkin. So hold your pen in place when you make the oval. Then click edit shape if you need to move it around. Make sure that it's in the center and then drag in the color to fill it. And then we can use the magic wand again, pick Gaussian blur, set it to layer, drag your pen to the right to blur this a little bit. Let's go for 19.5% and then click the magic wand again. For a little extra touch, I want to add a little rim light at the top of our pumpkin to make it pop from the background a bit more. We'll go to layers. Then we'll create a new layer on top of the others by clicking the plus. Then we'll click it and turn on clipping mask. So whatever we add here, it'll only show up on our pumpkin. For the brush, I want to go back to the treasure chest brushes and use the dark noise brush. And for the color, we are going to use this third color in the second row. And I want our rim light to only show up on the pumpkin and not on the stem. So let's go to this layer, layer 1. That's the basic shape of the pumpkin actually, without the stem. So click it, then use select. Make sure to turn off color fill. And then we'll go back to layer 16 while the selection is still active. When you have an active selection, you can only paint inside of the selection and not outside of it. So that's super handy. The brush opacity is at 100% and let's set the size to 14%. And then let's just go over the edges at the top to add a little bit of a rim light to make it stand out from the background. You can place your pen a little bit outside of the pumpkin to make it really subtle. Now finally, I want to add a little bit of light to the stem as well, so we'll have to turn off the selection. You can just click the S shape ribbon to turn it off. And now we can also add a little bit of light to that stem. And there we have our creepy pumpkin version. Here we have the creepy one and the happy one. Creepy, happy, creepy, happy. Now to make a little like reveal trick, let's duplicate this group. If you can, if you don't have enough layers, then I would suggest duplicating your entire canvas, your entire project, so that you can always go back if you want to change anything on your pumpkin. I don't know, you never know. I'll just duplicate it and then I'll flatten it. Click it, then select flatten, turn off that middle group, and let's add a mask to this creepy pumpkin. And I'll fill this mask with black. And there we have our cute pumpkin again. Now to reveal our creepy pumpkin, we can use a brush. You can use any brush you like. Actually, I am going to use the Blackburn brush under drawing. Then switch it to white. Let's zoom out a little bit. And now when you go over your canvas, your creepy pumpkin will appear. And that's it. I hope you have enjoyed following this tutorial, creating 2 types of pumpkins. Don't forget that once you have followed this tutorial, once you're finished, that you can share your work on social media, of course. Don't forget to tag me if you share it on Instagram, and tag me in the image, not just in the description. Then I will be able to find your work, and perhaps we'll see it in the next You Can Draw This video. I want to thank you for watching. Turn me into a happy little pumpkin by hitting that thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. And I will see you next time for the next You Can Draw This video tutorial.